Part 14. Saints and Madmen in the Same Frame at Ephesus. Let's pivot our gaze to the winding coastline of Western Asia Minor. About 90 kilometers north of Miletus lies a city called Ephesus. Sound unfamiliar? Like some minor European town? But just adjust the frequency on your internal translator and respell that guttural Greek name, Ephesus, and the traffic, so to speak, spikes immediately. Anyone with even a passing acquaintance with the Bible will instantly recall those 3 syllables glittering next to the golden tags of the 7 wonders and the Apostle Paul. It's like a little-known actor suddenly being revealed as a distant relative of a massive celebrity. Their standing skyrockets. Around 500 BC, this place was a major metropolis, first calling itself Greek, then Roman, like changing coats. And our story begins with its 2 most formidable cultural pillars. Around 530 BC, a strange man was born in Ephesus named Heraclitus. He was the quintessential, rebellious rich kid. Born into nobility, he should have been sipping wine in the Senate and gossiping about city-state affairs, yet he insisted on wandering the wilderness like a tramp, pondering the ultimate mysteries of the cosmos. He looked down on everyone, including the famous contemporary influencer Pythagoras. In his view, the master mathematician was nothing more than a mere compiler of knowledge and a practical joker. As for the much earlier Homer, he should simply be driven out of the stadium and flogged. This temperament made him, quite literally, the founding father of the philosophical troll, all guns blazing and never pulling a punch. Heraclitus's central philosophy boiled down to one word: change. Everything flows, nothing stands still. For the underlying essence of the world, he chose not the water or air the Milesians were fussing over, but something with far more impact: fire. He declared, "This world order ever was, and is, and will be, ever-living fire kindled in measures and going out in measures." This wasn't philosophy. It was fitting the universe with a giant eternal furnace, burning day and night without rest. His most famous line, a perfect footnote for dynamic equilibrium, has echoed through the millennia: "You could not step twice into the same river." Why? Because by the time you lift your foot for the second step, the water that flowed past your toes has already been replaced 18 times over. And perhaps feeling he hadn't made it confusing enough, the old man added a philosophical tongue twister, a double negative equals positive idea. We step into and do not step into the same rivers. We are and we are not. Heraclitus spent his life searching for change, believing it was the governing theme of our world. Like other philosophers, he sought the origin of all things. He stated, "Out of all things comes one." This reminds us of the Chinese philosopher Laozi, who said the one produced the two produced the 3, and the 3 produced all things. We can believe that both discovered this profound truth independently. Yet, unlike the Chinese sage, the Greek philosopher's origin theory was not sequential. Laozi's one is special, the source of everything. Heraclitus, however, championed the doctrine of opposites, believing nothing was unique. All things held the same status, including the one. That's why he immediately followed up with the opposing phrase, "Out of one comes all things." Heraclitus believed that everything had an opposite, like day and night, life and death. They are always in contention. It is one way now, and it will be the other way in the next moment. Philosophers are often obscure, and Heraclitus was no exception. The living and the dead, and the waking and the sleeping, and the young and the old are the same. Pushing the doctrine of opposition to its extreme, he concluded that good and evil are the same thing. He found validation in daily life. The way up and the way down are one and the same thing. Even more striking was his definition of war. In his eyes, war wasn't a catastrophe, but the father of all and the king of all. Without conflict, the world would stall. Though brutal and honest in the dog-eat-dog age of ancient Greece, this remark was the most candid philosophical summary of the law of the jungle. In the end, this genius, a man suffering from severe isolation syndrome, retreated into the wilderness. He contracted dropsy, and in his final moments tried to test the doctor's intellect with cryptic hand gestures. The doctor failed the test, and Heraclitus passed away in solitude. Filled with his concepts of change and fire, one imagines he was perhaps unhappy but intensely real. Fast forward 600 years, the furnace was still burning, the river was still flowing, but Ephesus welcomed a new superstar, St. Paul. If Heraclitus was the prophet of flux, Paul was the chief evangelist of unity. This Jewish man, formerly named Saul, lived in Ephesus for 3 years, turning it into his Asia Minor missionary headquarters. He established the gospel movement there and wrote a letter to the church in faraway Corinth. In that letter, 1 Corinthians, he addressed everything from marriage to the Lord's Supper, but the passage most quoted through the ages is his canonical declaration on love. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Look at that, an ultimate solution for human emotional stability, essentially guaranteeing to smooth out all feelings of grievance, injustice, and strife. What's even more fascinating is that Paul, arrested and under house arrest in Rome, didn't stop. He penned a letter to the Ephesians, the aptly named Epistle to the Ephesians, or the prison epistles. His ultimate ideal for Christians, articulated from a jail cell, to unite all things in Christ. A man in prison, without complaint or anger, painting a picture of grand harmony for distant believers. This stands as the perfect philosophical antithesis to Heraclitus, who 6 centuries earlier had championed the idea that war is the father of all things. Ephesus itself was a city of unparalleled brilliance. It once housed the temple of Artemis, dedicated to the Greek moon goddess, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Sadly, this list of wonders, aside from the perennially standing Egyptian pyramids, has mostly vanished into the sands of history. From the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the list feels more like a Mediterranean civilization achievements exhibition, lacking the Far East or the Americas. Calling them the wonders of the circum-Mediterranean world might be more accurate, but it serves as a melancholy footnote to the geographic isolation of the ancient world. During the Roman occupation, they built a massive open-air theater capable of holding 25,000 people. Imagine Paul preaching to that sea of people. It must have been an ancient mega-concert. Adding to the legend, it's believed that Mary, the mother of Jesus, spent her final years here. Paul himself was executed under Emperor Nero in Rome in AD 67. Over 2 centuries later, Constantine the Great built St. Paul's Basilica on the site of his martyrdom. So, you see, Ephesus is a stage spanning time. On one side, the isolated eccentric Heraclitus, standing by the cosmic furnace, shouting change, opposition, war. On the other, the ubiquitous evangelist, St. Paul, from the grand theater and the humble prison, calling out love, unity, peace. One city, 2 extremes, a dynamic and a still point, fire and love. History is always both opposing and self-consistent. It uses ever-living fire to ignite the wildness of thought, and it uses long-suffering love to soothe the clamor of the world. What remains in the end is the true miracle.